Huîtres Henry was born from the passion and the expertise of visionary oyster farmers. For 5 generations on the father's side and 3 generations on the mother's side, Huîtres Henry is 100% natural. A true alliance of man and nature, of Breton soil and years, a fresh and harmonious taste, a treasure from the depths of the sea, an iodine experience that one will never forget. A shared moment with family and friends, a moment of spontaneity and enjoyment. To savor our oysters is to kiss the lips of the sea.
Nous sommes ici dans le berceau.
We are here in the cradle of the flat oyster, the famous Belon. This is the river that flows from Crac in La Trinité-sur-Mer to the Bay of Quiberon in Morbihan, South Brittany. It is here that our great-grandparents, grandparents and parents on both sides of our family started our business. This is where we have been oyster farmers for 5 generations. It is here that we refine our 100% natural production of cupped oysters and flat oysters, which we produce in the Bay of Quiberon, Bay of Brest, and Bay of Mont Saint-Michel in Cancale. It is at this meeting point between fresh water and seawater that we tend to our oysters for 3 years. It is at this meeting point that it all happens. It is here that makes the perfect mix between salt water and fresh water that gives the Henry oysters their sublime and unique taste. Our oysters are 100% natural. This means they are not born in a laboratory, our oysters are born at sea. For this, we lay specific props on our farms at sea at the time of reproduction between mid-June and mid-July. These are for the oyster larvae to attach themselves and grow. Every year, during the calm season, we fill about 300 kilometers of mussel shell nets into 1 meter long socks. These socks are then attached to metal frames in deep water in the Bay of Quiberon at the time of reproduction. These mussel shells will disintegrate in time and will only leave a tiny trace on the oyster's shell. The second prop we use to capture the oyster larvae is the plastic cup. These cups are nested into each other and assembled on capture frames. As our ancestors worked with the tiles, we make a mix of water and lime that covers the surface of the cup. This is what is called liming. Unlike the tiles that were uncovered at low tide, requiring a lot of work depending on tides, we put our capture frames on our farms in permanently submerged areas. We have modernized the expertise of our parents, and we have adapted our technology to the deepwater environment. From the month of May, we follow the rise in the temperature of the sea and we take oyster samples regularly for examination. This allows us to know exactly when the oyster larvae are thrown out into the sea. When milled oyster is fertilized, it is called slate. This grey sand found in oysters is the larvae. Once thrown out by the oysters, the larvae wander and feed according to the current and tides. As they get bigger, they fall to the bottom of the sea. It is at this precise moment that we must put our collectors into the sea between mid-June and mid-July. The larvae will attach themselves on the mussel shells or the limed cups. This is how they will grow naturally. It is essential that the collector surface is clean for a better fixing of the oysters. This step is crucial to the harvest. We have to be very precise because if we put our collectors at sea too early, they will get dirty and larvae cannot settle. If we put them out too late, the season is then missed. Some climatic factors may also affect the uptake. If we miss the oyster spat collection season, then 3 years later we have no harvest because it takes 3 years to produce an oyster. Nowadays, science assists oyster farmers, but our parents and grandparents worked without this help. The starting point of their capture season began when the chestnuts bloomed. We will not forget the experience and memory of the older generations. We trust in science, but we carry the legacy of our ancestors, who taught us to look and listen to nature. We are now in April, and our capture frames have spent the entire autumn and winter in deep water in the Bay of Quiberon. Oyster larvae have slowly grown in the sea during the winter and are now in the state of spat. Our oysters are between 8 and 10 months old and are about the size of a fingernail. Spring has just begun. We will wait for the great equinox tide, and then we can go and collect our mussel shell socks and our limed cobs. Upon collecting the mussel socks, we do not see this black color that characterizes the mussel shells. If the color of the oyster spat is yellow and pearly, then the season looks promising. During this period, our ship, La Belle de Quiberon, makes numerous daily trips to collect all the capture frames. They are brought back to our site, Le Lufan, in Crac. Mussel shell socks are then put into a machine which cuts them open lengthwise. spat and mussel shells fall under the machine on a treadmill. Everything is collected in large plastic containers, which are then sent by truck daily to our dealership in Cancale. The capture of the flat oyster spat through lined cups is a more recent technique. It has many advantages over mussel shells. Preparation, laying and lifting cups frames requires fewer personnel. The task is less painful but still remains very physical. As opposed to mussel shells, which are used only once, the cups are reused every year. We only need to coat them with lime again. It is difficult to favor one method over another method. We cannot know in advance if the spat capture will be better with one or the other method. It is always our boat, la Bay of Quiberon, and the staff on board who daily unload the lime cups collectors. On land, the staff handle the capture frames and takes them apart. The cups are then passed through a machine that will break the lime and release the flat oyster spat. The same evening, the truck is loaded and takes the road towards the Mont Saint-Michel Bay, where we will sow the oyster spat in deep water. The spat collected in the Bay of Quiberon travels through Brittany from south to north. The truck is unloaded and the large containers are put aboard la Belle de Cancale. This amphibious boat is essential in the Bay of Mont Saint-Michel because there are no estuaries as in South Brittany. In addition, we are not dependent on tides and we can go to sea at any time of the day, low tide or high tide. Experience, we have realized that our oysters reach market size faster when growing up in the Bay of Mont Saint-Michel. The bottom of the English Channel, where we leave our oysters to grow, is richer in seaweed and plankton than the Bay of Quiberon, and the tidal currents are very strong. Our farm is a 100-hectare concession grid. All the partitions we draw are stored on the computer on board, which is GPS linked. the seeding of the oyster spat is very accurate. We know exactly where all our oysters are located. Under our regular monitoring of their growth and their movement due to weather, our oysters will grow in the Bay of Cancale for 2 years, just next to the famous mussels Moule de Bouchot from the Bay of Mont Saint-Michel. Historically, the South Brittany oyster farmers would capture the flat oyster spat and would sell it to North Brittany oyster farmers, who were in charge of the breeding. In 1950, our grandfather Marcel Henry, an independent and adventurous man, decided to find his own concessions in North Brittany. Marcel traveled round the entire Breton coast by car with a bag full of flat oyster spat. Inspired by a sheltered spot he discovered on the Crozon Peninsula in Finistère near the city of Brest, he emptied his bag of oyster spat. A few weeks later, Marcel came back to check his oysters. They had got bigger, and this is how the new concession was found. Today, the site is mainly used for the production of our cupped oysters. We fill large plastic perforated pockets with the spat we capture in deep sea at the Brest harbor, and we lay them on metal tables. These pockets protect our oysters from predators. We have to regularly clean and return the plastic pockets. Seaweed obstructs the flow of seawater and therefore food. The oysters are usually picked up at the beginning of the year when they are about 18 months old. They are then sorted in 3 different sizes and put back in pockets for 1 more year before we can sell them. Some of these oysters will be seeded on our farms in deep water in the Bay of Quiberon. It is the same principle for the breeding of the flat oyster. Back in the Bay of Cancale, it's time to collect our oysters. They have spent the last 2 years at a depth of between 2 and 15 meters, depending on tides, in deep water. Our boat, La Belle de Cancale, has 2 large metal pockets called dredges. With 2 articulated arms and a cable system, these dredges are dragged along the bottom of the ocean on our farm. When the dredge is full, we empty it into large plastic containers. The oysters we are fishing today are about 3 years old, the required age for their market size. Despite cleaning our farms regularly, it is impossible to fully eliminate the invasion of shellfish such as crepidula, which we pick up in large quantities with our oysters. Each movement of the boat and the dredges on the bottom of the sea is recorded on the computer and located by GPS. This technology allows us to know exactly where the boat goes over the farms. When enough containers are filled, we go back to land, where they are loaded into the truck, which then returns to Huîtres Henry in Saint-Philibert. All the oysters we produce, flat and cupped, are sorted and calibrated in Saint-Philibert before we can sell them. Oysters collected from all our farms arrive in large containers and go through different sorting machines. First put on a treadmill, the oysters fall into a bath to remove sand and seaweed. They are then moved inside the building. Oysters that are too small to be sold are put aside. They will be returned to grow on our farms for one more year. The staff are in charge of sorting the oysters by discarding empty shells and other shellfish. The oysters are then cleaned, cleared of any seaweed, and continue their way to the 3D vision grader. Each oyster is photographed by the grader and is sent to the basket corresponding to its size. The grader allows us to sort 12,000 oysters per hour. Once sorted and graded, the oysters are stored in different pools until they can be sold. This step is important. Oysters, from the time they are picked up from the farms and sorted, and when they are sold, are stored and refined in our submersible pools of the Ria de Crac. This is where it all happens. It is during this step of just a few weeks that our oysters are going to take on a sublime and unique flavor, thanks to this perfect mix of offshore seawater and fresh water from different streams that feed the river Crac. We take out the required amount of oysters from the different washing pools, which are exposed at low tide. Oysters have learned to close their shell, which makes them stronger. We then store the oysters in our indoor pools. After a few hours, they are cleaned and are safe for consumption. We take them out and package them in hampers. Our staff check each oyster by banging them together. It is the safest technique to make sure that they don't lose water. The oysters are then packaged into wooden hampers. They are then weighed, strapped, film wrapped in pallets, and are then ready for delivery. During these busy periods of the year, in order to meet demand, we double our production between the two sites in Morbihan. From his office at the headquarters of the company in Saint-Philibert, Ronan manages production, handles all the orders and organizes delivery from the two sites. Orders arrive continuously, whether by internet, email or phone. We also must make sure that the staff can meet demand. In addition to the permanent staff, we employ many seasonal workers. The days are long and the workload is intense and physical, whether it is hot or cold, dry or wet. Most of our annual production is delivered at the height of the holiday season. We have no room for error. Each hamper must contain the right number of oysters and they must be of the highest possible quality. We have chosen to produce an oyster that is completely natural, and our customer satisfaction is no less than 100%. The sales of our oysters goes beyond borders. We deliver our flat and cupped oysters by truckload to markets in Brittany and across France, but also throughout Europe and sometimes further afield. Huîtres Henry has been a family business for 5 generations. Today, it is essential for us to pass on to our children the traditions and values we have inherited from our parents and grandparents. If you live nearby or are just visiting this beautiful region, why don't you come and visit us on the banks of the River Crack? We will welcome you simply and with a smile. Our shop and seafood restaurant is open 7 days a week, all year round, in Le Lufan in Crac. The freshness of the seafood we offer our customers is always perfect and quite unmatched. We also raise in our seafood tanks shellfish such as scallops from Brittany, crabs, and of course all sorts of Breton lobsters. We also suggest that you try our langoustines and big cooked prawns. You can order 7 days a week on our website and then pick up your products directly from the shop. We deliver to individuals throughout France within 24 hours. You can also enjoy any seafood you like in our restaurant. Customer satisfaction and trust mean everything to us. When you order seafood like one of our famous Breton lobsters, we will prepare it with pleasure and care. A little extra from Huîtres Henry is that we offer the possibility to completely customize your seafood platters. Everything is prepared for your enjoyment. The shells are opened or pre-opened to guarantee their freshness. Ask us for any of the seafood you love and enjoy to share with your family and friends. A friendly welcome and the freshness and quality of our products is our commitment to you. Just ask our customers.
C'est pas la première fois que je viens, on est venu chercher nos fruits de mer ici pour Noël. Et c'est un site qu'on aime beaucoup parce que les produits sont frais, ils sont bons et j'aime beaucoup voir les bassins à chaque fois que je viens.
On a fait un repas avec des amis à l'étage, donc dans la salle du restaurant, c'était formidable.
Tout. J'ai tout mangé. Et tout aimé surtout. Les huîtres,
Voilà.
les crevettes, les langoustines.
Les bulots.
Du homard, des crabes, langoustines, des huîtres, des palourdes.
On a même essayé leur soupe.
Même le beurre, il y a des petits pots de beurre, ils sont bons. J'aime les crabes, les crevettes à la folie.
Le tout agrémenté d'excellents vins
Oui, ils ont
et d'excellents champagnes.
Les gens sont très sympathiques et très gentils, répondent bien à vos questions et très serviables.
Il y a de la fraîcheur, c'est propre, il n'y a pas de souci.
Quand on est content d'un produit, on y revient tout le temps. Donc elles sont bonnes, on y revient.
J'invite tous les prochains clients à venir ici.
J'en parle tout autour de moi et j'essaye de faire venir tout le monde.
You are a professional, a fishmonger, a restaurant owner, or a wholesaler, then Huîtres Henry are there to offer you our products delivered every day throughout the year. We offer satisfaction by guaranteeing all year round the quality and quantity you are entitled to receive. We are truly committed to it. This is one of the values we share with our grandfathers, along with the desire to ensure a 100% natural product, both in flat oysters and cupped oysters. Huîtres Henry is one of the last producers of the real Bellon flat oyster.